I'm Linda, and I never thought it would happen to me. Anybody but me. And it just doesn't make sense. Help me figure this out. And to find out what happened to me, watch this video all the way to the end. Mr. Kirby is our new teacher. When he came to our school, at first, he was very discreet. He was like a gray moth himself, quiet, always with a bunch of books under his arm and big glasses. We called him the Glasses Man. He taught history, a terribly tedious subject that no one in our class liked. But Kirby himself was really into his subject. As soon as he started class, it was like he was transformed. His back would straighten, his face wrinkles would smooth out, and his eyes would sparkle in a way that even the thick glass of his glasses couldn't obscure the sparkle. The Glasses Man always had with him several large cards, which he hung around the classroom, and he managed to show something on each of them for the whole lesson. Running quickly from one to the other, Kirby demanded that we know all by heart. All the dates, all the battles, all the famous personalities. He even managed to quiz everyone during class. And of course, to give terrible grades. And then we had to work off our grades after class. Our school life turned into a living hell. We made complaints about Mr. Kirby. We went to the principal. It didn't help. The principal brushed us off by saying that last year Mr. Kirby won an award as the best history teacher in the state. So he knew exactly what he was doing. In fact, when the Glasses Man found out that we had complained about him to the principal, he turned into a real monster. We prepared a report or essay for each lesson. Before history class, we would start shaking with fear, and he didn't like me in particular. You'll find out why later. But now, just make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click the bell icon so you'll know when there's a new video coming out. And he didn't like me because I argued with him in almost every class. I've always been a rebel, and when I see the prejudice, it just blows my mind. It pissed me off that Kirby wanted his subject to be everyone's favorite. But I, for one, liked math better, and didn't want to waste my time writing hundreds of history reports. One day, I didn't do my homework, an essay, and it infuriated the Glasses Man. I openly, without apology, said that I had not prepared the essay because I had a lot of homework and I did not have time, although every day I sit up at night with these essays for history class, and that no teacher does not give so much homework, and that's enough, Linda. That's enough. After school today, you'll have a chance to prepare an essay. There'll be plenty of time. We'll discuss it in class tomorrow. I was furious. It was my mom's birthday celebration tonight, and although we live alone with her, my mom and dad have long been divorced. All my relatives were going to visit me that night. Grandma, grandpa, aunt, nephews. I wanted to help my mom clean the apartment and bake a cake. Everything as we agreed with her. I didn't know when I would be home. But my final exams were coming up, and I didn't want to risk arguing with that nasty teacher Kirby, so he wouldn't ruin my grades. After school, I sat down to write an essay. There was plenty of information in the school library. In 2 hours, I left school in a hurry. It took me an hour to get home by bus. And I realized that I would be home around 6 when everyone was getting ready. Of course, I warned my mom that I could not come home early because of the teacher, but my mom was not mad. She just sent me a happy little smile in response. Strange, I thought at the time. When I opened the front door, I immediately smelled a pleasant aroma of pastry, light music was playing in the apartment, and my mother's laughter came from the kitchen. And not just my mother's. I froze. A man's voice? Or was it just me? "Hi, honey. Come on in. I'm almost ready." My mom was glowing in her beautiful dress and her makeup and her hair. What's going on? And then I saw him. In his shirt and pants, no glasses. I couldn't tell at once. "Hi, Linda." Mr. Kirby in my mother's apron, with a mixer in his hands. He was smiling at me. Surprised, I did not know what to say. Just looked at my mother and then at the glasses man. "Honey, I want you to meet Dean. We've been dating for a few months now. And I really hope you two become friends." "Linda?" I ran to my room and slammed the door loudly, barely holding back my tears. And now I'm sitting there, and I don't know what to do. Mom and that glasses guy? Even though he's kind of cute without his glasses. But that doesn't change anything. I hate him. Did he know I was her daughter? Or he had no clue? Now the relatives are going to gather, and I don't want to see anybody. My mother is knocking on the door, demanding an explanation. What should I tell her? Write down what you would do in my place. I am looking forward to it.
Hello, I'm Clara, and I live in Nevada. Now I'm 15, but I first met my mother only a few weeks ago, although I was sure that she died giving birth to me. I grew up on a farm with my dad, his sister, and her 5 children. They teased me as a foundling. I had curly, jet black braids and some dark eyes. And their entire family had fair skin and blonde hair. Dad always supported me. He said I was the most beautiful girl in the whole wide world. When I was in middle school, my dad had a terrible accident. He was hit by a car at a crosswalk. He fell into a coma. My aunt called me to her place and said that she couldn't provide for me. "I've informed your mother and she'll come take you soon. Get ready." I was shocked. "To my mom?" I cried. "She's dead." "She's alive, Clara, and soon you'll see her." My aunt smiled wryly. I was shocked. I had so many questions. Why didn't she want to meet me for so many years? Maybe she doesn't need me. An hour later, I was standing near a huge mansion where my mother's driver rushed me in a limousine. I couldn't believe my eyes. The house was a palace. I timidly knocked on the door. It was opened by an elderly man, introducing himself as a butler.
"Miss Clara, your room is ready. On the 2nd floor. Please, come in."
I went inside. The interior was luxurious. Suddenly, a woman ran into me, gray-haired, some kind of crazy eyes. They said hello, but she grabbed my shoulders and started shaking me hard.
"Give me back my necklace, wicked thief. You dare to steal from your mother?"
My eyes widened in horror. Is this my mother? Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click on the bell so you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And then the butler ran up. He escorted me to the 2nd floor.
"Excuse me, Miss Clara. Mrs. Florence has dementia, and Miss Donna, your mother, is having a very hard time with her."
Mrs. Florence is my grandmother? The butler nodded in response. After a couple of minutes, I found myself in a huge, beautiful room. I sat down on a soft sofa, deciding that I would soon see my mother, and I took a nap. When I woke up, it was already dark. I went down to the 1st floor, and lights were on in the dining room. At a long table set for 2 sat my mother. "Mom?" I was afraid to move. Could this be a dream? But here she is, alive and well, with the same dark skin and curly hair as mine. "Mother? My mom!" But she didn't even get up. Turning her head towards me, she nodded, pointing to the table.
"Please, sit down and have dinner."
I sat on the other side of the table. Why are you doing this to me? I couldn't be silent any longer. Where have you been all these years? Why did you leave me? Without saying a word, she got up and left the room. I couldn't sleep all night. In the morning, the driver took me to school. It was a private school where very wealthy children studied. Here, for the first time, they didn't laugh at my appearance. On the contrary, the guys smiled at me, the girls ran up to get acquainted. Everything was like a dream. With one exception. This boy Adam, I didn't like him right away. Nasty jokes in my direction. But he was a clear leader and a very smart guy. When I came back home, I heard two female voices arguing about something. In the living room, I saw my mother and grandmother. Mrs. Florence screamed so hard that Mother closed her eyes.
I hate you! You hear me? I hate you!
And then my grandmother hit my mother in the face with all her might. She couldn't keep her balance, sharpened and fell to the floor. Having managed to hook her forehead on the table that stood behind, blood spurted from her wound. Mother? Mother! I screamed so piercingly that my grandmother jumped aside and the butler in pajamas ran out of the far corridor. Calling an ambulance, he took my grandmother by force to her room. Mama's forehead was sewn up, and all this time I held her hand. She smiled at me through her tears. Then she fell asleep. I couldn't sleep that night. I felt so sorry for my mother. She silently endured all of the bullying by her sick mother. But why is my mother so cold to me? Thinking about all of this, I managed to fall asleep only closer to the morning. The next day at school was not the best day. Adam constantly pissed me off. He interrupted me in class when I was answering to the teacher. After school, he tripped me when I left school. My nerves failed. I followed him around the corner and pinned him against the wall. Listen, you smarty pants, leave me alone.
Clara, I like you.
What? I didn't expect such a turn of events. We walked with Adam until late in the evening and talked. He walked me home, hugged me tightly when we said goodbye, and I came home so happy. Mom was in the living room. She was tear-stained and there was a Band-Aid on her forehead. Does it hurt, Mom? I walked over to her and sat down next to her. And suddenly tears welled up in her eyes and she shook her head.
Forgive me, Clara. I'm so sorry I turned my back on you. When my mother hit me, I realized how painful and lonely you've been all these years. My mother has always been very cold towards me. All these insults. I suffered humiliation from her all my life. And when you were born, I was afraid that I would become the same monster. So I decided you'd be better taken care of without me. And I left you with Dad. I came up with an excuse that I wanted to build a career, but I constantly thought about you. And when I saw you a couple of days ago, I almost died from the thought that my girl grew up without me. I really want you to forgive me. Clara, I have offended you so much.
And my mother started crying. I also cried, laying my head on her knees. She stroked my hair. For the first time in my life, I felt the warmth of my mother's hand, although I never even dreamed about it. We sat like that all night and couldn't talk enough. I was so happy. Now I have a mother and Adam. And I only dream now that Dad could come out of the coma and everything would be wonderful. For now, I'm enjoying my new life. And you, please write to me. How do you like the story? What would you do in my place? Would you forgive your mother? I'm looking forward to your answers.